All right, everyone. Well, welcome to Leading AI Agents. I'm really excited today because my guest today is someone who has made a deliberate bet on AI early. He documented the entire journey publicly and now helps other leaders win with AI. Craig Hewitt has been building on the internet for over a decade. He started by founding and bootstrapping Castos, a podcast hosting and production platform, from 0 to 7 figures, becoming one of the go-to names in the podcasting world along the way. But what really sets Craig apart is what he did next. He made a deliberate decision to transform it from the inside out. He created a YouTube series where for 100 days, he rebuilt his podcasting company as an AI native business and documented every single step of that journey publicly. That series became something bigger than a content experiment, and it became a playbook. And now Craig is learning AI daily and sharing his findings every step of the way. He works with CEOs of $3 million to $30 million businesses as a fractional head of AI, helping them move from dabbling to actually leading an AI transformation. He also runs a weekly newsletter reaching over 10,000 tech founders, and he puts out content on YouTube to over 18,000 subscribers. Not only that, he also hosts the Rogue Startups podcast. Craig isn't someone who studied AI from the outside. He's an operator and he's actually living it. And he brings that no fluff, been there, done that energy to every leader, founder, and CEO that he works with. Craig, welcome to Leading AI Agents. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks so much, Olivia. I appreciate it. That was quite the intro. I feel a lot to live up to after that. So thank you.
Oh, amazing. We're just going to show them everything you've done, which they can even go to your YouTube and see all of it. So let's just get started. Walk us through that journey of that moment where you said, I'm going to dive literally into AI and I'm not going to let this bus, leave without me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to frame it because I saw like a creator I really respect. It's been a couple months and they've changed their tune since then, but they said in the fall, they're like, I've seen waves like this come. And I'm just not jumping on this bandwagon. And so you've been around a little bit, you might remember like, oh, Threads, right, from Facebook. Like, oh, Threads is everyone's going to go to Threads, and we all jumped on Threads and a Blue Sky and all this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people saw like, oh, AI is like a fun little thing because like 6 months ago it kind of was. And then certainly in kind of like November and then in January and February of this year, like we're recording this in April, a lot changed. And there's been a lot written about like some really fundamental things that changed with the tooling and the models to let us do really amazing things in OpenClaw and Claude Code and all this kind of stuff. But I saw what was happening a little bit ahead of time because like I'm a little older and I kind of like I've seen several of these waves happen now, and podcasting was one of them. And I was fortunate to like ride that wave through COVID with our business at Castos. But I was on a podcast. You mentioned the Rogue Startups podcast. I was on my podcast and I was talking to someone, and they were like, "Yeah, I really got on like the SEO landscape, and they got on podcasts like this because they did 100 days of SEO." And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I should do 100 days of like podcasting or marketing or sales. And that's kind of like my background. I was like, oh, that's dumb. I should do 100 days of AI because like it's absolutely the future. And it's just like the easiest, obvious place to put my time and effort. And so I did. I did 100 days in a row of a real YouTube video about AI, all the way from testing tools and models and workflows and a little bit of maybe hyperbole around like what it's doing with jobs and thought leader stuff. And it was amazing. I took the YouTube channel from like 250 subscribers to like 13,000, and then have grown since then. So the 100 days ended in November, and then continued to do well, and had a video a couple weeks ago do like 90,000 views, because like the appetite is absolutely there for people right now. Just they can't. It's interesting actually. They can't get enough content around AI, and it's overwhelming at the same time. And so I think there's a real opportunity for folks, maybe like me, to say, I'll take and understand and distill the whole kind of world of AI right now. And you mentioned I work as like fractional head of AI for some folks. That's a lot of what I do, is just say like, hey, you can definitely ignore that. That's garbage, but this is really important, and you need to spend a lot of your energy over here. Because I think that's like the thing is, a lot of founders and executives you talk to are like, I'm super stressed. I don't really know what to do. I hear all this stuff. I need someone to tell me what to do and then kind of how to do it.
You're perfectly positioned to support these leaders because, like we were saying, you've done this from experience. You're a CEO yourself. You lead people, and now you're leading agents and people. And so,
Yeah.
talk about the skills that are required to lead agents and to lead an AI forward organization.
I think there are two different things that you're talking about, and I think that's really important. So I think first of all, people are still absolutely the cornerstone of any organization, any company. And you hear, CEO of NVIDIA saying like 1,000 AI agents couldn't build NVIDIA today, and I agree. Like, there's no compute, there's no agent that can build a business from scratch, and anybody who tells you that is trying to sell you something, I think. Um, but what you absolutely need to do, and this is probably the thing I'm most proud of. Like, so we're recording this on a Thursday. We have a call with our team every Thursday. We call co-working, and we've done it forever. And it used to just be a casual kind of thing, but now it's like a show and tell with AI, where everybody gets on and they show something that they've learned. And today, one of our support folks was like, "Hey, I built this new product for us with Claude Code." And he's not super, and he would tell you, super not technical, super, compassionate, thoughtful, perfect support person like mentality. He's like, "I was just thinking about this, and I was like, we need, a kind of feature product that kind of fits over here." And he just built it. And that's what you have to get. Like, as a CEO, you have to get your team from, I use ChatGPT like a caveman to like rewrite emails for me, to I'm building AI agents. I know how to use Claude Code. I'm on the leading edge. I'm my team up all the time. And it's this kind of like positive peer pressure. So like that has to happen first for the other thing to happen, which is like you said, leading your company with agents. So your team and you should be building agents, and agents is like a very loose term. And so how I define an agent is it has three things. It has a model, so like Opus or ChatGPT. It has memory, so like a database or like a way to store memory, and then access to one or more tools. It can browse the internet. It can connect to your calendar. It can connect to Notion, whatever, Google Analytics. Um, and so an agent can be as simple as like, this thing organizes my desktop every day, or it clears my calendar, or, the kind of super agents, or like, what some people espouse OpenClaw to be is like, it runs my whole life. That's really like a collection of agents, probably is what actually is happening there. But you can't go from zero to that without a lot of time and energy and tokens or a team all doing those things.
Mm. Yeah, elaborate more on that.
So like your experience is probably, okay, I got it set up and like it kind of worked, and then it broke, and like I had to go and like totally debug it. And I was like somewhere else and I was trying to do it on my phone, and then like Telegram stopped working. And then I got it to work for a while, and then there was an upgrade and like that broke and all this kind of stuff, right? Is that about right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah, yeah. That was me. So like, we're recording this. I have a brand new Mac Mini that like I just opened it a couple days ago, and I tried to get OpenClaw running on this last night, and like it just won't work. And I'm like, how is this so popular and so many people say it's so great when it just doesn't work? And that's the reality today. There's a new, the agent of the week is called Hermes. Really, really great. I love Hermes. It's really cool, really dependable, especially around like memory and things that it remembers and doesn't remember, always kind of self-improving. It's kind of my agent of choice these days. But even with that, you might be like, I want to make an agent. I have one called Gordon, after Wall Street, the movie, Gordon Gecko.
Ugh.
So my Gordon Gecko is like an automated stock trading bot. That's really easy to get, like from zero, to install Hermes and connect it to some data sources to analyze K1s and all this kind of stuff. What's really hard is like, okay, you need to have 100 different plans that you analyze and split test them and back test them and apply all these weights to them and do paper trading and figure out which one wins and then store all that in memory somehow. Let us figure out how to ingest more information as it comes out. And then like, oh, this new company joins the S&P 500. Like, how do we, like, it's really easy to get started. It's really, 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 really hard to put an agent into production that is actually really impactful to your business. And that's what takes hundreds of hours. And you
Mm.
you ask anyone who's done it, Jason Lemkin from SaaStr, like he's like, yeah, we fired our sales team and built agents, and it's been a full-time job for 3 people.
Yeah,
Not to say it's
it's
not worth it, but it's not like you don't just click a button and AI happens.
mm. So there really is a two-pronged like component where if you want people in your organization to adopt AI with you, there needs to be a sort of psychological safety. They need to feel like I'm not training my replacement. You're encouraging me to experiment, to try, to share. And that public forum seems really important. And I love what you guys do every Thursday. I think that's wonderful. And even the playful nature of show and tell, right? There you're removing that stress of like, come and show your AI tool. It's like, no, like
Right.
let's just show our work. I think there's that really wonderful psychological safety aspect to it, which is really important. But then also then going to the leader, there's this really importance of being patient, of thinking of the long term, of having this long term plan, of thinking of a rollout. So the responsibility and the onus of a leader at this point is very big. And what you're saying is like just confront it head on, like don't avoid it because this is like a wave that's coming or already
Yeah.
here essentially.
Already here. I mean, you see every day, Oracle lays off 30,000 people, Amazon lays off 15,000 people. I think was it Block, right? Jack Dorsey a couple weeks ago, big layoff. I think a lot of companies are using AI as an excuse to downsize. I think some companies are actually putting AI into practice, like we talked about, like way harder than you kind of think, to make their companies better. I think those are not always the same thing. Um, but I think that one thing you mentioned, like de kind of risking or make it less intimidating for employees to kind of replace themselves. I think that's close, but to me, it's like I want to make this more positive for myself and honestly for our team. It's not like, hey, you're not replacing your team yourself with an agent. It's that's not your job anymore. Like writing code is not your job anymore. And any CEO that's listening will, or manager will have had this conversation with someone who's like, I just like writing, or I like answering customer support tickets, or I like getting on the phone with people. And folks have been kind of hesitant to really lean into AI. Um, you have to have a really honest conversation with yourself and them. And so there's two things that I always say here. One is like the ultimate litmus test of anyone who's ever hired someone is, would I hire that person again knowing what I know today? That's the ultimate litmus test. And the answer should always be yes, or you should fire them like right now. And that applies to AI, right? Knowing what I know about this person's adoption trajectory around AI, would I hire them again today? And I had to have several conversations with our team and tell them that the answer to that question is no. Like, hey, I am getting pushback and friction from you on this. It's not cool. This is where I am. Like, the developer you are today is not someone that I would want on my team if I was starting over again. And so you need to change, right? That's way more fair than firing them, right? Like critical conversations kind of thing. Um, the other thing is it's just not your job anymore to write code if you're a developer. Your job is to manage and orchestrate Claude code to do the work of a junior developer and you be the architect. That's the bigger on an individual contributor level. That's the tougher pill to swallow for some folks. And I think there's a lot of existential crises out there, like, well, I did this thing for 20 years or whatever. Like, what do I do now? And maybe the whole kind of SaaS world, like I run a SaaS business. That's how we pay the mortgage and send the kids to school and stuff. Like, gosh, like the SaaS apocalypse happened a couple months ago. Like I think a lot of us in SaaS kind of are saying like, is this business model going to exist in 5 years. Not as it is today, I think. And so, like, it's not that it's our fault or that we did something wrong or our product is garbage or anything. It's just like, hey, you said at the beginning, you're living in the future. Like, it's just different. And we gotta get on board.
Wow. It shows your leadership skills and your resilience, as you have these conversations. It really shows everything. Yeah, like just how well positioned you are to have those conversations. And it's not easy to have those conversations with people, but you're also saying, I'm living it too, right? Like you didn't expect all of this to happen either. And you're needing to pivot and change and adopt and learn new skills every single day. So it's not easy for you either.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. It is a lot of fun. Um, but it also is challenging. Yeah, so it's not easy. Yeah.
And it seems like as things progress with with OpenClaw opening this like can of worms with agents, right, and us seeing the possibility of what happens when you can essentially have an employee, you create a job description, skills, you give them a personality, and you give them the tools and they can run and do things for you. It now is creating the opportunity for the possibility, and essentially how it's going to be for everybody's going to be a leader, right? Because like like you're saying, your developer is going to oversee Cloud Code, which is essentially a junior developer, and they are now stepping into a leadership position. And people, maybe they were like, I like to write code. I didn't get in this to be a manager. It's like, but now it seems like everybody's going to be a manager in a way with agents.
Yeah, I think so. It's just like you use a computer and send email, and it's just another tool that you'll have to use to do work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, when you work with CEOs who say, Craig, I want to adopt AI, I want to be an AI forward thinking organization and person, what are they actually saying?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's not what they say the first time. So I think that it can come from one of two perspectives. One is kind of like fear, and one is ambition. Fear is like, I see people in my space doing this stuff, or I see this stuff on YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn, and I know that my business won't survive unless we go through this transition. And it really is like a transition or a transformation. So those folks come in and they're like, I'm scared that we're about to get run over by the Mack truck, and I don't want to. So we got to kind of get out of the way. The other one is, I was on a call with a guy last week. He's like, I run, a $15 million agency. We're like 200 people. I want to be 30 people. And I was like, cool, yeah. Really hard, but totally doable. Like those 20 or 30 people are going to be ninjas, right? They're going to be amazing with AI, and there's going to be a bunch of kind of surface area exposure in your business. I think that's something that folks don't talk about as much. It's like we're kind of transferring risk from people to machines with all this, right? Like saw this week, like the Claude code source code got leaked. Like, gosh, probably wouldn't have happened if it was only people doing this. But the trade-off is the Anthropic team can move so fast and ship so many amazing features that they're kind of accepting that trade-off. And I think that's a lot of what companies have to do right now is be like, trade the thing we know how to do, which is to train human beings to do a thing, to learn how to trade agents and machines to do a thing. And so the kind of ambitious path is like, yeah, we can go from 100 people to 25 or 30 people. Our margins will go up a ton. We'll make a bunch of cash, but there's this pretty painful learning period of like, gosh, I have to figure out how to run this business with this whole other set of resources. And the scary thing is you might not have any people who can do that in your company
Mm,
because it's not the marketer or the customer support person or the whatever that can build those agents. They have the the context and the kind of tribal knowledge, which is super important, but it kind of won't be forever. So I think that's kind of back to like your team has to really, for their sake, has to really get on board with using these tools to stay relevant.
wow. So you're talking, it's like for some organizations, it's a huge overhaul of completely inside out of this transformation truly could be a transformation.
I think so. I mean, I think that's not happening today in most organizations, but it's starting to happen, and it won't be just like a green blue thing, right? It won't just happen tomorrow. It'll be just let me, Oracle laying off the 20,000 people or whatever. They're gonna replace them with different types of people probably, and that's just you figure it's 10% of your company each year for 5 years, and in 5 years your company looks really different. I think that's probably what's happening.
And so considering if we have like a leader listening, like a CEO, and then if we have an employee also listening, and they're both thinking, wow, how do I become resilient? How do I become AI native? Would you suggest to an employee to start upskilling and then just start communicating with their CEO or their leader and showing what they know, showing the skills they have, so that as the CEO is thinking, or HR, whoever's restructuring the organization, thinking, who's coming on board on this new iteration of our organization? Are they going to come on board? And then for the CEO, is it important for them to show their AI literacy as well to the organization?
The second one's way harder. I'll answer the first one, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really clearly. I put something out a while ago that was if an employee on your team, especially in a leadership position, isn't equipped with Claude Code or demanding it right now, that like you should fire them today. Um, and so that if that's you and you're at an organization, you don't have access to these tools, demand that you have access to them, pay $20 a month to get it on the side and play around with it. And then exactly like you said, do your show and tell proactively to the team. Hey, I built this little script. Hey, I built this internal tool. Hey, I did an audit of our website and it's showing we're messing up in SEO in these places. Hey, I uploaded this special report to this place and I did a thing. Like it's Claude Code is just so amazing. You just talk to it about like what you want and it does things. It's so amazing. So if you're an employee, like watch a YouTube channel, maybe like mine, and just learn. Like if you can learn one thing a week, in a few months you'll be pretty dangerous because you can't break these things. It's not like writing code, or yeah, it's not going to go ruin your computer. You 100% need to get access to these tools like OpenClaw, maybe not Claude Code or Codex. 100% everybody that's in like thought work and in white collar employment should have access to it. If you're
Wow.
a CEO, I think it's harder and more nuanced because the question is like, should you be the best person in your company at this? And I hesitate here because like as a small business, like I did everything. Like from the first day, I literally did everything. And then we hire folks and like all of them are now better at their kind of individual things than me. But what we're talking about is basically kind of starting a new company inside your company. Um, that transformation that we're talking about. And so, yeah, I think you have to lead this at least from a cultural perspective. Like, you don't have to be the best person at orchestrating codex agents and all this kind of stuff, but you need to be fluent and know what you're talking about, or you'll just lose credibility. You need to be using the tools as much as you can within your domain. And so, like, if you're a CEO of a $100 million company, that probably means like I'm running financial projections in Claude Code and building dashboards for myself and my senior leadership team. Like that's a really good place for you to live. As a CEO, it's not like, oh, I built this internal tool with Python or I'm running scripts and all this. Like you can do that for fun, but like I think you need to live at the level that you would work with AI tooling,
Mm.
and you need to show everyone what you're doing, and then that should trickle down, and you should utilize that kind of positive peer pressure that we talked about with our show and tell as much as you can. And so if you're that $100 million company, that's your senior leadership team. If you're a 10-person team, that's the whole team and everybody should participate. And you're starting to see like, I think I saw it's like Google AI fluency and usage is part of their annual performance review now. And that like totally makes sense. Like it is in mine, in our company.
It's the expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really it's becoming the expectation and the foundation. And they're what you're saying. I think it requires a leader to have vulnerability and say, when as a CEO, you get really used to people around you giving you accolades, treating you differently. You kind of become very special, and you maybe have the last word, and you know about a lot of things. And now you have to enter a territory that is very unknown, which you jumped into right before your 100 days. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And people might say, I'm not technical, but like you're saying, these tools now, you can use natural language. It's in any domain, and you can start experimenting quietly and silently, but it needs to happen ASAP.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll like the reason that I do the fractional work is folks say all that and they're like, yeah, but like I don't want to go the hard way. Like I want someone to give me the kind of easy known path. And really that's the value that I bring because ultimately they have to do the work. But when I work with folks, it's like, hey, start here, focus there, don't do this thing. They'll cut months or years off of that transformation time. And that's really just like responding to the market. I had folks reach out to me and were like, hey, can you help me do this thing? And that's kind of where the service has evolved to.
Definitely. I think that the smartest thing a leader could do would be to hire somebody like you and start to give them a clear picture. I think one of the offers you have is like this 90-day roadmap where they kind of think about what's it going to look like? What's this implementation going to look like? Training, all of that. I think when you're coaching leaders, I'm sure there's a lot of overwhelm, and all of that reduces that overwhelm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of speed and certainty are the two things that we try to optimize for. Like this is going to happen, it's going to happen well, and it's going to happen pretty quickly.
Mm. And speaking of, we were talking about fun and play. You named your agent Gordon, at least one of them. I'm just curious, do you think it's important that we name our agents, give them personalities in order to lead better?
Um, yeah, I guess so. Like I think everyone does it. Yeah, I think it's a fun thing. I'm sure on a psychological level, it's really weird. Like I'd love to hear from a psychologist on like us naming the machines. But yeah, I think so because like if you get to a point where you're using an agent a lot, like my primary agent, her name is Janet, after The Good Place, and like I have some really deep conversations with Janet, and like she really gets me, and I think that's important. And again, like in a pretty weird way, like, mental health is something a lot of folks don't talk enough about in work. And especially now, like I talk to a lot of folks and they're like, all the things we've said, it's so exciting. I've never been able to do more. I'm sleeping worse than ever, and I'm always stressed. Those two things are both happening all the time. Uh, and I think like I don't know, like naming your agent and all this kind of stuff, I think is leading to some of the dopamine kind of overload that we're expecting, that we're experiencing. But I also think that they can be helpful, right? You're just like, hey, I mean, the biggest way I use Claude Code right now is I have a whole project in there that's called Second Brain. And I just talk to it about stuff all the time. And it has context on literally everything that I do for work. And that's really healthy because otherwise I'd have a therapist and I'd have a coach and I'd have all this stuff. But I can talk to this really specific Claude project a lot, and it helps me out a lot. And that's like on a kind of leadership, but also like individual contributor level. And so I think that while AI is creating a lot of this overwhelm for us, it's also alleviating some of it, like in a different way, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And as agents kind of take on maybe some of your work, do you find yourself also delegating some of your life besides the just being able to talk out loud freely?
Yeah, it's not. I've not gotten there. Yeah,
Mm.
I totally know where you're going. But my agent doesn't have like her own phone number. She has her own email address, but she doesn't have her own phone number. She can't call and like make reservations for me. That's cool to make a YouTube video about, but I don't know how much actual use there is.
Yeah, and I've heard that there's some people kind of form this line of like, I don't feel comfortable with an agent going, to my personal life. Or some people are like, oh, please take over my personal life, but don't go into my work. So it's really interesting how we all kind
Mm,
of have these psychological parameters of what we're willing to go or not.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think for me, kind of best case is if the agents can help me do more work and do it better so I can spend more time with my family, that's the goal. I don't need an agent to manage my family.
I love that. And that was going to be my next question. So as you have these systems in place that start alleviating some of that stress, as you are able to sleep a little bit better because the systems are in place and are running, it's kind of smoothly most of the time. What do you then get to spend your time on, either in your business specifically?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a really fortunate spot that Castos as a business is very mature and stable, and we have an amazing team that are all very kind of AI pilled, and so I'm spending a lot of my time on the YouTube channel and creating content and learning. They happen at the same time. Like I did a video today about local models, and I'm on a Mac Mini here and running a local model, and that's so cool that I have the ability to learn and share what I'm learning with folks, and it's really rewarding.
Wow. And we need people like that on this in this day, this day and age that are living it, but also teaching it as well. And
Mm.
reducing that overwhelm. I feel like you have such a great personality that I think a lot of people can relate to. I feel like you're very down to earth, a kind of person, and people are going to be like, oh my gosh, like I can talk to this guy. Like he's going to explain it in a way that I understand it.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. Yeah, because I mean, we touched on it before. There's so much out there. It's really overwhelming. And if you just watch 20 hours of YouTube, you just end up in the same place because you don't do anything. And that's definitely not the goal.
Definitely. And do you find that people can get caught into the learning loop thinking that just because they watched a video, they learned something, whereas like it's the actual engaging with Claude Code is where the learning happens?
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of that with our team. I think maybe it's because the expectation is like, hey, you need to show up and do stuff. I think the tools are so approachable now that most folks should be able to kind of come in and do a thing, even if it's not like the end result that they hope for. I think they should be able to come in and like do a thing pretty quickly.
Mm. And as we think about like people leading agents, what do you think is the biggest skill that they're going to need as they become people who lead these machines, these devices? Even though it's natural language, you don't need to know code. Like, what are the skills that are required?
Yeah, I'll answer it a little differently because like I have two teenagers, and I was just reading an article about like 30% of college kids right now are rethinking their majors because of AI. And I think they're related because like I have a high schooler and a middle schooler. So like I think I'm glad they're not graduating right now because I don't know the answer of like what they should do. They have a few years for some of this to play out. But I think the answer is critical thinking. And that's really a lame answer, but if you think like your job is not to write code anymore, your job is not to write blog posts or be on sales calls or do the things, then your job is to figure out how to kind of elevate. We use that term in our company a lot. Like your job is to elevate to now be this manager, like you talked about. And when you're a manager, it's a lot of strategy, it's a lot of like resource allocation, and being a good critical thinker and kind of going back to those first principles becomes really important. And I think that with AI makes a very powerful person for you as an employee, or if you have kids and someone in college thinking about what the heck they're going to do with their life. I don't know what the world is going to look like in a few years. It will be really, really different. Like we're in the second inning right now, if you want to use the baseball analogy, I think. And it'll probably get much worse for the next couple of years, but I do believe in 5 years it will be amazing. Like there'll be so much abundance, but there'll be a transition period that will be tough. And that person who is nimble, who is hungry to learn, and who uses critical thinking skills and implements with AI is going to be perfectly positioned.
And that critical thinking point, I think, is so important. And it's interesting because what I hear, and I've read a lot of articles where people criticize AI because they say, oh, you're doing away with your critical thinking, where because you're giving so much of your thinking away to ChatGPT and to Claude, where are people's critical thinking skills coming from? So how do you develop critical thinking? And can AI help you develop those critical thinking skills?
Yeah, I think that the risk is definitely there, right? If you just abdicate all of your critical thinking away to Claude Code, yeah, it just kind of lobotomizes you, right? And you don't think anymore. I think that there's kind of two places I think about it. One is in an activity. It's never just, hey, go do this thing for me, but help me think through this problem and how we can solve it. And so this is a skill, or it's plan mode, or it's what, however you want to accomplish this. It's just, hey, let me talk to you and help me. You ask me questions, and I kind of help guide you to the place we want to get to. And then we lock it down, and then the bots go from there. Like that. That's how a lot of that's marketing and sales and ops and product development. All those things should kind of follow that. Outside of a kind of working session like that, I actually think it's like time away from the computer, because like when you're at the computer, like these things are so available that it's kind of tough it's terrible to say. It's tough to think at the computer. All of my best thinking is, walking the dog or at the gym or something like that. And, gosh, like things like OpenClaw or Hermes or Claude Code are pretty cool because you can just fire off a thing and seed that little bit to kind of go chase later. But I think that's often the best kind of workflow is like, hey, do some stuff at the computer for like actually implementing the thought you had. But most of the good thoughts probably don't come when you're sitting at your computer.
That's such a good point to make. And I've heard so many leaders say just that I think we forget that we're bipedal, right? We were given two
Right.
legs and we're really it's intentional for us to use our bodies. And it's so important for people to remember that we need to be physical. We need to move around. Something I encourage people is while you're listening to a lecture, YouTube or something, use your left hand to just doodle so that you're actively thinking, you're actively engaged, you're not drifting off. So there's just like little habits that people can implement to keep their brain active, to keep their bodies active. It's so interesting that it's can be so simple. First principles and like go for a
Yeah.
walk, get some sleep, drink some water. It's like
Right.
we might over complicate it because we're overwhelmed.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think the overwhelm is very real. And like, I hear some of my friends talk about like token anxiety, like,
Mm.
or like, is my agent running all the time? And I get it. Like I've had times when I'm like that, but I do, when I take a step back, I think like, if that is true, something kind of way upstream of that happening is messed up, right? Like if I need an agent to run 24/7 for me, I've not designed a good business.
It really goes to show the importance of truly laying that out beforehand,
Mm, yeah,
the
yeah.
skills and the agents and what they're doing, the roles, all of that.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. um yeah, to your point, as an entrepreneur, when you started your business in Castos, you were doing all the roles, so then you started hiring where it hurt. It was like, and you started creating job descriptions and being very specific about the needs. And it seems like that this is exactly what people need to all like do, is to go back to the drawing board and think about their business, think about the organization. What's this going to look like? How can you help people learn and optimize?
I think so. You mean kind of like with the AI transformation in their businesses kind of go to
Exactly.
this? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think yes, and the reality is some things are easier to either replace or kind of amplify with AI. Anthropic had a really good kind of blog post and research where they had this graph of like the the potential impact of AI and the kind of realized impact, and things like development and product and sales and marketing and ops were like really the potential impact was like 100%, like they could replace 100% of developers, and things like legal was like way less. And so I think like masseuses are probably safe, right? So like I think as you're looking at your company, it's like where can I again either kind of amplify or replace with AI practically is like a really important question, not just like, okay, I'm picking marketing just because I want to pick marketing to kind of transform. That might not be the best place.
Mm-hmm. And do you find as you're rolling out AI, is the best approach to do a blanket approach where you're going to want everybody to start adopting it instead, like you're instead of a marketing, instead of a department specifically?
It's kind of both. I think like on one level, it should be cultural across the entire organization because it is a mindset. Like it's just like I use a computer and I show up and I send email. Like I work with AI heavily every day. But then there are specific areas where we transform, and that's kind of part of the roadmap and the audit is kind of who's on your team, what are they doing, kind of what are their strengths and weaknesses, and then how can we use AI to plug some of those gaps or amplify places where things are already working well. And it's different everywhere. You know, the sheet metal manufacturer here, or the SaaS app there, or the marketing agency over there, all look really different, all have different opportunities and kind of pains. I think like the cultural thing has to exist, it has to be led from the top, but it has to be everywhere in the organization. And then kind of very specific transformations happen first. And then it's pretty sequential because like what you don't want to do is just go in and turn the whole table over
Mm,
because then like it's not perfect, right? Like there's going to be growing pains. And so like you need a way to roll it out, evaluate, measure, iterate, and then repeat.
mhm. As you're thinking about, so something I think a lot about is the agents and people creating their own agents. Do you find that as these organizations, like you're saying from the top down, implement an AI strategy and agents then become part of every day? Do agents then get delegated to your team? Would I then, as a manager, would say, okay, now you have 5 agents and you give them skills and you give them personalities, or do I do that and then transfer them? And then in addition to that, who owns the agents? Are they owned by the organization or by the individual leading them?
When you say own, you mean like IP ownership or like maintenance?
Yeah, like ownership where they can come with you to another role and you've just like fine-tuned them so perfectly where then they can do things,
Oh,
like Janet knows you, it's like she's not
yeah.
staying at Castos, like
Um, That I mean that's super interesting. So like the assumption that we've not kind of faced that. The assumption has always been like everything's company property. You know, me as the CEO, like I don't
right.
know, maybe like that's a gray area, but like employees, like we don't have OpenClaw for our employees. That everyone has Claude Code and Codex, but OpenClaw is still a bit too much of a security risk for me for other people to have it. And I have it on a different machine. So like it's not touching any of my kind of work stuff. Um, so I think the company owns the agent. It 100% should have like billing and like access controls over those things because they can kind of go crazy. Um, I think like who kind of builds and maintains them, which was the other way I kind of like took your question. I think it depends. I think it depends on like the person. It could be that like, let's say you have a role that's like very not technical, but technical things need to happen for this person to get uh, access or data or tooling or something for their agent. Like in that case, then like development or IT or whatever would want to come in and kind of work with that person together to kind of build out their agent. If it's like a developer or a technical marketing person, like they probably should just do it because like yeah, you just talk to Claude Code and it kind of does its thing. I think like if an individual can create them, like they kind of should, but like the technical folks probably and in like a large organization, like even uh, like IT and infosec. 100% will get involved as like, oh, how do we sandbox this? How do we grant access like read only to these certain things? Um, and that's just many years of work will be done around that because it's a whole it's a whole paradigm that we haven't had to consider before.
Yeah, in thinking about new paradigms, I'm always trying to think of how to think about it in the old world, right? So I think about it like when you start a new role and you'd get a computer and you get a laptop, it's like, okay, well, that laptop is owned by the organization. Some organizations are okay with you taking that laptop home and using it for personal use, some are not. And so it's very interesting that it's like this agent thing, I think it's going to be kind of gray for a while because people get very close, very personal with their agents. But if the organization can see so much of the back end, I don't know if people are going to want like their own agents on their own machines, like doing work with them. Because I've heard there has been some hesitance for employees not wanting to use the AI given by the organization because they're like, I don't know. Like they feel like very big brother for them.
Yeah, and I don't think that's wrong. Kind of like for both sides, like from the kind of CEO manager level, I want to know like I want to know that I have control over things that are happening in my business, and every kind of CEO should. And from a individual contributor level, yeah, it's not your business. Like you should be cool with the fact that like you are borrowing this thing. It belongs to the company. You can do some personal stuff on it, just like it's a perfect example. You can send personal emails from your company email account, but you can't go spam a bajillion people or, I want to say improper, right? But like
Yeah, exactly.
you can't kind of go crazy with it. That's just not like good corporate citizenship. And I think an agent and tokens and things like that are kind of similar reflections of that.
Yeah. And what I appreciate what you're saying is like there needs to be clarity from leadership for people so that they are very clear on what their expectations are, what they can do, what they can't do. And really at the end of the day, as an employee, you are representing the organization. But sometimes AI can kind of like blur those lines a bit because it can feel a little friendly. It can feel, a little personal, or they can feel like they really know you. So I think
Yeah.
people really remembering that they're doing a role.
Yeah, I'll kind of spin it the kind of ultra pilled way. Like there was a quote from Vincent Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, recently saying like if a senior developer on your team is not spending $250,000 of tokens a year, there's a problem. That's a lot of tokens.
That's a
We
lot
don't
of
do that, but
tokens.
we recently spent $5,000 in a month on AI tooling, and we celebrated it. I think
Wow.
that's the mindset. Like, not, oh my gosh, I have to freaking buy this other thing, I have to buy this hardware and this, Codex Ultra plan or whatever. But like, oh, cool. We're doing so much that we elevated our kind of spend to this level. Like, it's trivial. It's trivial. $5,000 a month is not an employee, in anywhere. Um, and so like as a company, like we're a small company, but like for us to be utilizing so much of this technology, it's a cultural thing, but we celebrated it. Like, and I think that that should be something that leaders do.
I love that. I feel like that's such a good place to end, where people should be celebrating their wins. They should be celebrating what they're learning. They should be celebrating themselves for investing in AI and the future of their organization. I think that what you've really shared with us is that there's this first principles thinking. There's this mindset that really needs to be implemented as not only a CEO and as leader, but as an employee, because essentially we're all leaders now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So good. How can people find you, hire you, learn from you, all the things?
Yeah, no. So thank you for having me on. This is a lot of fun. Folks can follow me. I think two best places are like YouTube. So I'm the Craig Hewitt on YouTube. I'm the same on Twitter. So Twitter, the Craig Hewitt, and then just craighewitt.com. You can find out more about me and working with me, join my newsletter, drop like weekly nuggets as to like for business leaders and CEOs, like, hey, how can you actually go use this thing and implement it in your business, and try to be extremely practical about what I send out there.
Oh my gosh, yes. Consume all the things. You'll learn so much. I learned so much from you. I was just watching your video yesterday on Hermes or Hermes. We'll
Right,
find
right.
out. And you're just a treasure trove of knowledge. I'm so grateful for your time, Craig. And maybe in a few months we'll connect and we'll see how all the evolution that we've been able to accomplish in just a few short months.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Olivia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Craig.